Yo, it's your boy Mr. B bringing you some maths. Today we're going to do set 5, paper 1. Let's just get you in. Alright, question 1, highest common factor of 12 and 20. So first thing, we're going to break them into primes here. So 12 is 2 and 6, 6 is 2 and 3, so 12 is 2 times 3, which is 2 squared times 3. 20 is 2 and 10, which is 2 and 5, so 20 is 2 times 5, which is 2 squared times 5. Highest common factor will be the numbers that show up on both of them with the smallest power. So the only number that shows up on both of them is 2, and the smallest power between them is squared. So 2 squared is 4, which is the highest common factor. B, find the lowest common multiple of 32 and 48. So we start the same way, product primes. 32 is 2 and 16, 2 and 8, 4 and 2, 2 and 2. So 32 is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, which is 2 to the 5. 48 is 2 and 24, 2 and 12, 2 and 6, 2 and 3. So 48 is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 3, which is 2 to the 4 times 3. The lowest common multiple is going to be numbers that show up on either of them with the highest possible power. So between the two of them I have a 2 and I have a 3. The highest possible power is here. On the 2's the highest possible power is a 5. On the 3 it's a 1. So 2 to the 5 times 3, which is 96. Question 2, we have a ratios question. So first we need to find out the numbers for school 1. So the ratio of boys to girls in school 1 is 1 to 2, and we have 16 boys. Pretty basic question here. It's going to be double the amount of girls, so there's 32 girls in school 1. So the total number of students for school 1 is going to be 16 plus 32, which is 48. Every school is sending the same amount of students, which means that the other 4 schools is sending 48 kids each as well, which means that the total number for all schools is going to be 48 kids times 5 schools, which gives you 240 children. Question 3, we have a standard form question. So first we're multiplying, so we're going to multiply the numbers first. 6 times 4 is 24. We're going to multiply the powers of 10 seconds, so 10 to the 8 times 10 to the 7. When you're multiplying, you add the powers, so that's going to be 10 to the 15. Put them all together, so 24 times 10 to the 15. But this is not in standard form, so if you stop here, you lost a mark. To put it into standard form, we need to first make the first number into a number between 1 and 10 using those digits. The only way we can do that is if it becomes 2.4. Between 24 and 2.4 we divided it by 10, so on the other side we're going to times it by 10. Whenever you're timesing a power of 10 by 10, every time you times it by 10 it goes up 1 in the power, so it's going to be 2.4 times 10 to the 16. Now same numbers, but we're adding them together. If we're adding them together, we need to make them into the same power of 10. So we're going to change the smallest term. The smallest term here is 4 times 10 to the 7. So we want to make it into 10 to the 8 so that we can times them together. From 10 to the 7 to 10 to the 8, you times it by 10, so you're going to divide the other term by 10, which is going to give you 0.4 times 10 to the 8. Now that you have the same power of 10, you can add them together. So 6 times 10 to the 8 plus 0.4 times 10 to the 8 is going to be equal to 6.4 times 10 to the 8. Please remember that when you're adding the power of 10, do not change. Question 4, a probability question with estimated values. So first the probability of 4, which is, well, there's one 4 out of 6 numbers, so 1 over 6. Then to find expected value, you do the probability of what you want times how many times you're going to do it, so 150 times, which gives you 150 divided by 6, which is 25. Question 5, a similar shapes question. First we need to find the scale factor. So to find the scale factor, we take two corresponding sides and we divide the largest by the smallest, so 12 divided by 8, which is 1.5. Then to find BC, BC is in the larger shape, so we're going to multiply. So the corresponding side is FE, so we're going to do BC is equal to FE, which is 14 times 1.5. Timesing by 1.5, you just half it and add to the original, so it's going to be 21 centimeters. Question 6, we're adding fractions. So first, we need to change the denominator so that they match. Between 3 and 5, the lowest common multiple is 15, so we're going to make both of them out of 15. On the first fraction, from 3 to 15, we times it by 5, so we times the numerator by 5, which gives you 5 over 15. On the second fraction, from 5 to 15, you times it by 3, so the numerator you times by 3 as well, which becomes 6. You got the same denominator, you can just add the numerators, so the final answer is going to be, the numerator stays the same, be careful not to say that this is 30. The numerators, I just add them, 5 plus 6 is 11. 6b, now we're multiplying mixed numbers, so first we need to change them into improper fractions. So 2 and 3 over 4 is going to become, the denominator stays the same, you do 4 times 2 plus 3, which gives you 11 over 4. For 1 and 3/5, the denominator stays the same, then you do 5 times 1 plus 3, which gives you 8 over 5. Now we're multiplying them together, you just multiply the numerators, the denominator stays the same. So this becomes 4 times 5 is 20, 11 times 8 is 88. Now we need to simplify. We can divide them by 2, which gives 10 on the denominator, 44 on the numerator. Divide by 2 again, that gives you 5 on the denominator, 22 on the numerator, and we cannot simplify any longer. Question 7, and solving inequalities question. Pretty basic, shouldn't be an issue. So first we need to get the t's on the same side, so we go on the smallest one, t, and we take away t from both sides, which gives us 2t plus 1 less than 12. Then we need to get rid of the plus 1 to isolate the t, so we take away 1 from both sides, which gives you 2t is less than 11. Then we need to get rid of the 2 next to the t, so we divide both sides by 2, which gives you t less than 11 over 2, which is done. Part B, t is a whole number, work out the largest value of that inequality. So we solved that inequality on the previous question, so we're going to use that. Let's read the inequality carefully. It's saying that t is smaller than 11 over 2, and t is an integer. So what is the largest possible value of t? So the conclusion here is, if it's a whole number, the biggest number that it can be is 5, because anything bigger than that will be bigger than 11 over 2. Question 8, a speed, distance, time question. Now, on those questions where you have like 2 different types of journeys, please remember that you cannot just add speeds or find average speed. You need to find total distance and total time. So it takes a little bit of legwork. So, let's get the formula triangle here first to make things easier. Then I'm going to find the time that it takes from C to D, so kak speed to drone. So time is distance over speed, so the time is going to be 45, which is the distance, over 30, which is the speed. It's a non-calc, so let's simplify this carefully. We can divide top and bottom by 5, which gives us 9 over 6. Then we can divide top and bottom by 3, which gives us 3 over 2, which then gives us 1.5 hours. Then we need to find the time from drone to Elton. So time is distance over speed, so 20 over 40, which is a half, and just to make it easier, I'll leave it as a decimal, so half an hour. So the whole journey is going to be 65 miles, adding the distances together in 2 hours. You can't add distances, you can't add time, the only thing you cannot add is speed, because speed is a compound measure. Then we need to find speed. Speed is distance over time. So the speed here is going to be 65, which is the distance, over 2, which is the time, which is 32.5 miles per hour. Question 9, factorize x squared minus 49. So this one's pretty simple because it is a difference of 2 squares. So that is going to be the square of the first plus the square of the second, and then the square of the first minus the square of the second. Nice and done. Part B, expand and simplify. You can do what you want here. The safest way, I do believe, is doing box method, so that's what I'm going to do. Do the box here, you have 2y plus 7 and y minus 3. Top number times the right, so 2y times y is 2y squared. 7 times y is 7y. 2y times minus 3 is minus 6y. 7 times minus 3 is minus 21. Then you can collect like terms and you can use the box to do that. Y squared, there's only one term, so 2y squared stays the same. Y, I have 7 and minus 6. 7 minus 6 is 1, so that's just going to be y. And numbers by themselves, I only have 1, so that 1 stays the same, and you're done. Question 10. The topic here is equation of a line. So first we need to find a line that goes through the point 0, 3. So 0, 3 means that the y-intercept is 3 because the y-intercept happens when x is 0. So what we're looking for here is we're looking for which equation has a y-intercept of 3. And that equation is equation C. Very importantly, it's not E, and the reason why it's not E is because E is not in y equals mx plus c. To do that, you will have to divide both sides of E by 3, which will not give a y-intercept of 3. So the line that is go through the point is line C. Then, same lines, and it's asking which lines are parallel to each other. So parallel lines have the same gradient. So we need to look for which lines have the same gradient here. So those lines are going to be line B and line C. The gradient is always the coefficient of x. So it's going to be line B and line C. Next question, factorize fully that thing over there. Different ways of factorizing. The one I do is not the quickest, but I do think it's a safe one. So we're going to write the term. Then I'm going to open a bracket and put a 1 outside. And then at each step, I'm going to divide the inside, multiply the outside. Divide the inside, multiply the outside. You can do it in more than one. You can do the tries that I did here together if you want to. I'm just going to take it slow. So first, what goes into both those terms? I can divide both of them by 3, which will give me xy squared minus 2x cubed y. Then if I divide inside, I times the outside, which gives me 1 times 3, which is 3. I do it again. I can divide both terms by x, which gives me y squared minus 2x squared y. I times the outside by x, it gives me 3x. Divide the inside, that will give me y minus 2x squared, times the outside, that will give me 3xy, and done. Question 12, we need to do a table of values. Even though it says cubic equations, this is more substitution. So first I'm going to open brackets. So instead of x, I'm going to open brackets. So open bracket square plus 2, open brackets minus 1. Then for each term in the table, I'm going to put them inside of the bracket and evaluate. So first, for minus 2, I'm going to take the equation, put minus 2 inside, and evaluate. Minus 2 cubed is minus 8. Plus 2 times minus 2 is minus 4, and minus 1 stays the same. Minus 8 minus 4 minus 1 is minus 13. Do the same thing for 0, so open brackets, put 0 inside and evaluate. 0 cubed is 0, 2 times 0 is 0, minus 1 will give you minus 1. And finally for 1, open brackets, put the 1 inside. 1 cubed is 1, 2 times 1 is 2, minus 1 will give you 2. Alright, now we have to draw them. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to plot each point. So minus 2 and minus 13 is over there, minus 1 minus 4 is there, 0 minus 1 is over there, 1 and 2 is over there, 2 and 11 is over there. Then I need to draw the graph. Remember, a cubic is the one, it is a wave that goes up, then it peters down a little bit, and then it goes up again. Sometimes it makes a bump, but not in this case. So we draw our graph, make sure it goes through all of the graph paper, and there you go. Question 13 is a Venn diagram question. So first I'm going to do my Venn diagram over here. We have French, Spanish, and an intersection. I'm going to start with the students that don't study either. Usually I tell students to start at the middle, but in this case we can't because we actually don't know how many students are in the middle. So we're going to start with the information that we have. 14 students don't study either, so we put the 14 outside. Now here's the tricky part, because we don't have any of the other 3 values, but what we can do is, we know that 60 students study French. So if we block the French, we can actually find out how many students study just Spanish. Because if 60 students study French, and there are 100 students in total, that means that just Spanish and nothing at all together will have to be 40 students, which means that 26 students are just Spanish. I'll explain this one more time because it is a bit confusing. 60 students study French. The 40 that are left over have to be between the 2 other spaces for values on the Venn diagram. There's already 14 outside, so just Spanish has to be 26. Then from here I can find out the ones that study Spanish and French, because 36 students study Spanish and 26 are only Spanish, so there's need to be 10 that do both. And if they're attended to both just French, have to be 50. Then find the probability that students study Spanish, French, or both. So the Spanish, French, or both are going to be 50 French plus 10 both plus 26 Spanish, which is 86. So the probability is going to be 100 is the total, which is the denominator, so 86 over 100. This is probability, so you don't need to simplify. Question 14, an angles in polygons question, kind of a complicated one. So in order to find my angle x, I'm going to need to find those two angles over there, angle QFE and angle QEF, there on the diagram. I'm flashing it right now. So in order to do those, I'm going to need the interior angles of octagons and pentagons. So there are two ways to find the interior angles. I'm going to do the exterior angle way because it's a bit quicker and easier, especially on non-calc. So the exterior angle of a pentagon, exterior angles add up to 360, so that's going to be 360 divided by 5, which is 72. The interior angle of a pentagon, interiors and exteriors add up to 180, so 180 minus 72, which is 108. The same thing for the octagon. The exterior angle is going to be 360 divided by 8, which is 45. And the interior angle is going to be 180 minus 45, which is 135. Now I'm going to just visualize for you why I did those things. Look at the angles we're trying to find, the two angles in the triangle there. Those angles are the angle in the octagon, there on the bottom left, minus the angle in the pentagon, there in green. So that is the reason why we found the angle in the octagon and the pentagon, because the angle that's going to be left over is the angle that we need. So that angle QFE, is going to be 135 minus 108, which is 27. And if QFE is 27, QEF is 27 as well, because that is an isosceles triangle. Why is it an isosceles triangle? Because the question is telling me that those two pentagons are regular, so all sides are the same, and they are identical. Cool? So we have those two angles. Now finding x is easy. X is going to be 180 minus those two angles, which gives you 126 degrees. Question 15, a Formian solving question. So first of all, the shapes on the right are squares. So just to visualize, I'm going to put the side of the square at the bottom as well, because this makes it really simple to visualize that 3x plus 5 is half of 10x minus 2, because the two squares are identical. So if you have two sides of 3x plus 5, it makes 10x minus 2. Then I can expand that bracket. 3x plus 5 is equal to 5x minus 1. Take away 3x from both sides. That gives me 5 is equal to 2x minus 1. Add 1 to both sides. You get a 6 is 2x. And then divide both sides by 2. You get that x is 3. If you didn't read the question carefully, you would stop here and lose a mark, because the question is asking me for the value of the length of the rectangle. So to do that, I'm going to take the expression for the length, which is 10x minus 2. I'm going to open brackets on the x, and I'm going to put a 3 inside. 10 times 3 is 30, minus 2 is going to be the length of the rectangle, which is 28. Question 16. S is the probability of picking a counter is 2 over 9. Write down the probability of S dash. S dash means not S. And the thing is, there are only two scenarios. Either you pick a red counter or you don't pick a red counter. So the probability of not picking S is going to be 1 minus the probability of picking S, which is 7 over 9. Then there's another probability question, part B now. Work out the probability that it takes one pink block and one white block. So list the scenarios. So the scenarios that work for me are white, pink, pink, white. Find the probability for each one of them. So white, pink is going to be the probability of getting a white, which is 5 over 9, times the probability of getting a pink, which is 1 over 9. Remember, he's putting the block back in the bag, so the denominator doesn't change, which is 5 over 81. Pink white is going to be 1 over 9 times 5 over 9, which is also 5 over 81. So to find the probability of getting one white and one pink, we add them together, which will give you 5 over 81 plus 5 over 81, which is 10 over 81. Part 2 is asking for the probability of that at least one of the blocks is white. So the scenarios here are white, pink, pink, white, white, green, green, white, and white, white. Luckily, we already found white, pink, and pink, white on the previous questions, so we don't need to find those, so we just need to find the other three. So white, green is going to be 5 over 9 times 3 over 9, which is 15 over 81. Green, white is going to be 3 over 9 times 5 over 9, which is 15 over 81. And white, white is going to be 5 over 9 times 5 over 9, which is 25 over 81. To find the probability of at least one white, we add them together, which will give 15 over 81 plus 15 over 81 plus 25 over 81, which is the 3 that we found just now, plus the probability of pink, white, and white, pink together from the previous question, which is 10 over 81, which will then give you 65 over 81. Question 17, a volume question, kind of an annoying one and takes a lot of steps, but let's go. So this is a prism. You can see that it's just a shape that then is stretched out, and the shape at the front is a trapezium. So we're going to have to find the area of the cross section, which is in this case is a trapezium. Area of a trapezium is parallel sides times a mean of the parallel sides times height. Be careful because the way that it is, the height is actually the horizontal side and the parallel sides are vertical. So the area of the cross section is going to be the parallel sides, so 1.3 and 0.5. The mean of them, so we add them together, divide by 2, which is 0.9. So the area of the cross section will be 0.9 times the height, which is 2, which gives you 1.8. That is for the whole swimming pool, or the pond in this case, not a swimming pool. Then the volume is going to be 1.8, which is the area of the cross section, times the depth, which is 1. So the volume for the pond is 1.8 meters cubed. Now after 30 minutes, when the water is getting down from the pond, the water goes down 20 centimeters. So now we need to find the volume when the water went down. So 20 centimeters lower means that the parallel sides, if the water goes 20 centimeters lower, will be 20 centimeters lower. So we need to find a new area of the cross section. So that is going to be 1.1 plus 0.3, because the water went down, divided by 2, which gives you 0.7. So the new area will be 0.7 times 2, which is 1.4. The new volume is going to be 1.4 times the depth, which is still 1, which is 1.4 meters cubed. And now so the rate of emptying, so the thing is emptying at 1.8 minus 1.4, which is 0.4 every 30 minutes. So if we need to find out how long is it going to take to empty, there are a couple of ways of doing that, but I'm just going to go one by one. So we're starting now at 1.4. After half an hour, you're going to go down to 1. Another 30 minutes, it will go down to 0.6. Another 30 minutes, it will go down to 0.2. And now there's only 0.2 left. It goes down 0.4 every 30 minutes. So to go down 0.2 is going to take an extra 15 minutes. So in total, it's going to take 1 hour and 45 minutes to empty the pond. Cool. Question 18, we need to order those numbers. So this is a bit confusing, but this is actually a change of base question. In order to be able to compare, you need to make them the same format. If you just order them as is, you're going to get 0 marks. So we need to change everything to base 2. 2 to the 0 is already there, we don't need to do anything. Root 2 is the same thing as 2 to the power of a half. 1 over 2 is the same thing as 2 to the minus 1. 2 to the minus 2 is already in the base 2, and 1 over root 2 is the same thing as 2 to the power of minus a half. Now that we have them in the same format, we can order, but remember to use the original values. So the smallest one is going to be 2 to the minus 2. Then the next one is going to be 2 to the minus 1, which is a half. Then it's going to be 2 to the minus a half, which is 1 over root 2. Then it's going to be 2 to the 0. Then 2 to the 1 over 2, so root 2. Done. Question B. Simplify 2 over root 2 to the power of 3. Give your answer in the form a root 2, where a is an integer. Different ways of doing this. The way that I went through is I'm just multiplying it first. So 2 over root 2 to the power of 3 is going to be this times this times this. Then simplify 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. Root 2 times root 2 is 2 times root 2 is 2 root 2. Divide top and bottom by 2. That gives you 4 over root 2. Then we're going to rationalize it. So 4 over root 2 times root 2 on top and bottom times it by root 2. That gives you 2 on the denominator, 4 root 2 in the numerator. Divide both sides, divide top and bottom by 2, you get 2 root 2. Question 19, we need to draw the graph for that circle over there. So the formula for any circle for GCSE is x squared plus y squared equals r squared. So to find the radius, we just compare the formula for any circle to our formula. So if you look at them, you see that the radius squared for our circle is going to be 4, which means that the radius of our circle is 2. Now with the radius, we can use the radius to draw 4 points. In GCSE, your circles are always going to have the center as 0, 0. So the 4 points that we can draw, knowing that the radius is 2, are this one, this one, this one, and this one. So we just go a distance of 2 from the center in all 4 directions. Once we have those 4 points, we can just draw the circle. Boom, all done, question done. Next, on the grid, sketch the graph for y equals cos x between 0 and 360. So to draw a tree graph, you should kind of memorize them, but there's a trick if you don't have them by heart. So first, it's the cos graph, so let's find cos 0. It's non-calc, but try to remember the table. Cos 0 is 1. So we're going to put that on the graph. Then you need to remember that sine and cos graph have a 90-degree cycle. So every 90 degrees, it goes up or down 1. So after 90, it's going to go down 1, down 1. Then another 90 from minus 1, it goes up 1, up 1. When it reaches 1, it goes down again. Yes, I know I didn't need to go to 450, but why not? I got my points. I'm going to draw the graph. Please try to remember that this is a wavy graph. My graph is actually not very pretty because the function wasn't working very well in the beginning, but yours should be a perfect wavy graph. Question 20, algebraic fractions question. First thing that we need to do here is we're multiplying and simplifying, so we're going to factorize everything. So we're going to start with we're going to start from the top left. So open the brackets, it's 2x squared, so it's going to be 2x, 2x. We're looking for two numbers that add to 1 and times to minus 30. You can do the factors of minus 30 if you want, but those numbers are minus 5 and plus 6. Then we're not done with factorizing. We divide by the highest common factor. Between 2x and minus 5 it is 1, so that stays the same. Between 2x and 6 it is 2, so divide both terms by 2 and you get x plus 3. Then 2x squared, 2x cubed plus 6x squared. We need to factor out the highest common factor between the two, which is 2x squared. So you're going to get 2x squared bracket x plus 3. Then finally, 2x squared minus 11x plus 15. Same thing, open the bracket with 2x because the coefficient of x squared is 2. Two numbers that add to minus 11 and times to 30, there is going to be minus 5 and minus 6. Divide by the highest common factor, so on the first bracket we're going to get 2x minus 5 because the highest common factor is 1. Divide the second bracket by 2, you get x minus 3. We've done everything, now we're going to rewrite the question with everything. So we're going to get 2x minus 5, x plus 3 over 2x squared, x plus 3 times 6x cubed over 2x minus 5, x minus 3. We rewrote them, now we can cancel out brackets that show up on numerator and denominator. So there is a 2x minus 5 and an x plus 3. We cancel those out. Now to finish the question, we can divide top and bottom by 2x squared because 6x cubed and 2x squared both are divisible by that, which gives me 3x on the top, x minus 3 in the bottom, final answer. Then finally, question 21. It's an equation of a line question. First thing, we need to find the gradient of L. L goes through A, 1, 3, and B, 4, 1. The gradient is always the change in y over the change in x. I'm going to go from point A to point B. So the change in y is going to be the y value of A, which is 3, minus the y value of B, which is minus 1. The change in x is going to be the x value of A, which is 1, minus the x value of B, which is 4. Remember, you need to go from the same point to the other point for both y and x. If you don't, you're going to get it wrong. Then 3 minus minus 1 is 4. 1 minus 4 is minus 3. Just simplify to make it nicer. Minus 4 over 3 is the gradient of L. Then it's asking us if the equation 2y equals 3x minus 4 is perpendicular to L. Let's put that equation in y equals mx plus c so we can visualize it better. So 2y equals 3x minus 4. To make it y equals mx plus c, we're going to divide both sides by 2, which gives me y equals 3 over 2x minus 2. Then we can do a conclusion. Are the two equations parallel? They're not parallel because if they were parallel, the gradient of the second line will be 3 over 4, which is the negative reciprocal of L, not 3 over 2. That's it. All done for this one. Hope you guys did well. Hope you had the best time of your life, and this was a lot of fun to spend your Sunday marking a past paper. See you next week. Borges out.